searching for this all my life. You're just my type. I've been looking for a boy who can treat me right. Your dark hair, but those eyes so bright. Alrighty, back in the studio. Another week of shenanigans. I'm solo this week. Just got back from Seattle, which was absolutely amazing. Spending time with my IOCDF, which is the International OCD Foundation. With that family, I mean, it just absolutely fills my cup every year. These are my people. I made new friends. My mom had a blast. It was just a really, really good trip. And then we come home last night. We go to dinner at Maddie's house. We're having a great dinner celebrating Christy's husband Dem's birthday. So we got home from that. We're put Summer to bed, hanging out downstairs with Penny and Salem, and then Boo and Mango come down. They're being a lot more brave now, coming down the stairs. Then I'm in the kitchen. I'm getting Penny a little late night snack, and I hear Kiwi upstairs like crying for them. And he always does this when the brothers aren't like right around him. He's like crying like, come back, because he's the scared one. But then all of a sudden I like go and I give Penny her snack, and I'm standing right there. And then I go and sit with Brock, and Kiwi just like appears. And I don't know if he fell through the stairs. Like, we put up a clear coat that blocks the stairway, like all the way around, because Mango, the first week we got him, had gotten through there. And so we put a covering up, but halfway down the stairs, it stops. I guess we ran out of it. Brock didn't finish putting it all the way down. So I don't know if he got through that part or what happened. But somehow he jumped or he fell, and we see him, and he's just crying, and he's like trying to get over to us and just dragging his back leg. So immediately Brock is like, personal trainer Brock checks in, and he's like feeling around, and he can tell it's his leg. So I call the vet to see which emergency vet they recommend. We take him in immediately. And it looks like he has a femur fracture, which I guess with kittens is quite common. They have to do surgery. They have to place a screw and some pins. And they needed to evaluate if it was also a double pelvic fracture, which could have been really bad. I'm on FaceTime with Brock and the doctor. I hear the word amputation. I'm like freaking out. Didn't get to bed until, I don't know, like 3 or 4 a.m. But he's getting surgery today. And then we have the road to recovery of 4 to 6 weeks of him being crated. I don't know how that's going to work with 2 other kittens wanting to play with him and not understanding. I assume he's going to be in a cast. But thankfully, we got insurance on the kittens. And so 80% of this should be getting reimbursed. But last night they're like, okay, so we're going to need payment up front. It's $12,000. Awesome. Welcome home. So a little bit low energy today, but still needed to show up for you guys and answer all of your questions. Just wanted to give a heads up if I seem a little off today, keeping an eye on my phone in case the vet calls or texts, because they're going to keep me posted before he goes into surgery today. So, yeah, not the best thing to come home to, but it could have been worse. It could have also been his pelvic fracture. I don't know. But anyway, you guys sent in lots of questions per usual. So I'm going to get to that. And yeah, let's all just say a little prayer for Kiwi that he has a quick recovery. And yeah. Okay. Let's see. Well, of course, you guys always send in lots of VPR related questions. So we'll get those knocked out of the way first this week. I wish they would bring back Vanderpump Rules with the original cast. You missed the show. I mean, of course, I will always have love for, what we built and the memories we made. That show completely changed my life. But I honestly don't think it would be the same now. I mean, we started the show when we were in our 20s. Now we're in our 40s. And
the friendships that made the show work have just changed so much. And that friend group is, like Kiwi's femur, really fractured. So, I don't know. I mean, what made Vanderpump Rules special was that we were genuinely in each other's lives, and it was messy and complicated, but it was all intertwined, and you can't really recreate that. So, as much as, I definitely miss that era, I am incredibly grateful for it. I think trying to force it back together now just wouldn't capture what made it so special in the first place. But I will say this weekend in Seattle, I I genuinely do sometimes miss working in a restaurant. So we were at this local pub for the World Cup game, and we tried to go to this place called like Tom's Watch Bar. And we get there an hour and a half before the game, and there's a line down the corner of like 50 to 100 people. I'm like, okay, we're not getting in here. So we ask chat. We're like, what other bars do you recommend to watch the game? There's one literally across the street. So we go there, we walk in, it's pretty empty. There's one guy behind the bar, and he's like, it's just seat yourself and then order at the bar. There's one guy in the kitchen. We're like waiting for, a server maybe to come over. I'm like, do we order drinks at the bar or food? No, we order everything at the bar. This one guy was running the whole place. So we're one of the first tables to walk in, but then the entire place is packed to capacity, standing room only. One guy to make all of the drinks, take all of the orders, run all of the food, and bus all of the tables. And I'm seeing this guy just like in the weeds. And speaking of, I did just smoke a little weed. And so I'm like feeling a little extra giddy. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to offer to help out. And I was like, hey, do you want to just like focus on the drinks and I can run food? And he was like, wait, are you serious? And I'm like, no, I own a restaurant in Orange County, and my mom helps out there and I help out there. And I've worked in a restaurant my whole life. Like, I'm sure, like, I'd love to help. He's like, okay, so here's the ticket number. Here's where the table is. Here's this. Dirty dishes go over there. Glasses over here. Napkins up there. I'm like, oh, okay. I am clocking in. So literally, I am running food for the entire restaurant. People, some of them recognized me. Some of them didn't. So it was really funny because they're like, And I was like, yeah, one person was like, oh my God, you guys are so busy today. And I was like, yeah, they are. I'm like, I don't even work here. I'm just helping out. And they're like, you don't work here? You're just like running food for fun? And then I have people literally handing me cash tips like, thank you so much. I was like, oh, thank you. Like, this is going to the bar though. And I ended up doing this for like the entire game because I was actually having fun with it. And then as I sit back down to watch the game a bit, I'm like, oh my God, those who think I actually work here are probably like, oh wow, this girl's just like on FaceTime. She's having a beer on her shift. But I sit down for a few and then I look back at the table and I was like, oh shoot, I need to go like check on their order. And my mom was like, Scheana, you don't have to. You can just sit, and enjoy the game. I was like, no. I need to complete this. I know they're waiting for a side of ranch and their wings and this and that. And so I just went into full server mode and I actually kind of had fun with it. I got to help out. The guy was so nice. We all did a shot after called Rumplemints. Have you guys ever had one of those? Okay, didn't know it existed. It's like Listerine, very minty, very, I guess, refreshing, one might say. But we all do this Rumplemints shot. I'm with some of the people from the conference who we made friends with. And overall, it was just such a fun day. I got to watch the World Cup, drink free beer, and help out this guy, Brendan. So shout out to him. He was amazing. And at the end of it, he had said something to me. And I think he was like, oh, what's your name? And I said, oh, I'm Scheana. And he's like, I'm Brendan. Nice to meet you. And he was like, thank you so much. And I was like, oh, no, don't even worry about it. And then he goes, I know who you are. I'm like, okay. So I introduced myself. But then I don't know if the in between, if someone he asked or he saw someone ask me for a photo. But it was really sweet. And they just appreciated that I was just a regular person there offering to help out. I'm like, I don't know if the restaurant could get in trouble. Is there like a food handler's card I need in the state of Washington? But I wasn't behind the bar. I was just literally running food from the open window and dropping it at the tables. And it helped immensely. And then I learned more of that restaurant and I was like, okay, we got this table here and this here. And yeah, it was kind of fun. So it took me back to my serving days. So when I saw that question come through about just like missing that, I'm like, I do sometimes miss working in a restaurant, but like my mom volunteers her time at Salty Horse. She doesn't want to be an employee. She doesn't want to be on the schedule. She just enjoys helping out. And I'm like, okay, now I understand that more too. Cause like I don't want to be on the clock at a restaurant having to check in, but I do enjoy helping out. So that was fun. And then we went back to the conference. I got to award the new recipient, Tiffany Jenkins, with the Illumination Award that I received in 2024. And it was just a really fun night. Great, great event, great conference. And I can't wait. The next one next year is in New York. So that's going to be so much fun. So, yeah. Okay. I'm going to take a quick break and get some water. And then, as you see, I've got lots of cards and lots of questions. We're going to get into all of those in just a sec. Okay. It's now time where I need to talk to you all about Resort Pass again because I feel like us moms recently on a play date unlocked something big and I don't gatekeep. So I want to share it with you. So, you know how we're always talking about how it feels like, you need to give yourself permission to rest or that you have to earn it somehow? Well, this year we're changing that, and Resort Pass is making it easy for us to actually do just that. So, get this this is the concept. Resort Pass gives you access to luxury hotel pools, spas, and cabanas for the day. No overnight stay, no membership. You just book it, and passes start as low as $25. And then, boom, you are poolside for the day. That's genuinely the whole thing. There's no more need for booking an overnight stay or having to go to a loud day party just to enjoy a pool with a great view. This makes taking a much needed and much deserved, might I add, break so incredibly easy. I'm honestly thinking about all of the ways I can use it this summer when my summer is in summer camp. See how many times I can say summer in one sentence. But seriously, like a girl's day, a family day, maybe when she's not in camp, or just a solo reset day. I have been dreaming about doing this. And the moms and I are like, all right, let's put it on the books. It takes no more than 5 minutes, and they even have same day bookings. They work directly with over 2,500 hotels and resorts to provide you with the same luxury hospitality that you would experience as an overnight guest. And what I really love about this is it doesn't require a life overhaul, months of planning. It's just one day to completely relax and get back to you. Visit resortpass.com/Scheana to get $20 off your first booking of $100 or more. That's resortpass.com/SCHEANA for $20 off. Resort Pass. The day is yours. Okay, back to your questions. Would you ever do a VPR reunion special for the show's 15th anniversary? This is one thing I said. I was like, one day there's got to be a Vanderpump Rules Where Are They Now sort of reunion special. I think if so, it would need to still probably be like a decade from now, like many years post Scandival. But yeah, I would absolutely do something like that eventually. I don't think enough time has passed that we need a reunion like that just yet, but I do think one day. Which scene from VPR do you think is the funniest? Oh, I did love, as much as I don't love him, but I do remember when James Kennedy was crawling at the reunion. He was talking about Stassi and he's like, you crawled back and crawled across the reunion stage. That was pretty funny. Um, I mean, so many moments. I don't know. That just popped in my head first. So I'll go with that one. Do you miss any relationships with the VPR crew? Of course, with, some of the women, I miss how close we used to be. I do feel confident that eventually I can get back to that place with some of them. Obviously, some of them I don't want to be close with. But yeah. Why can't Katie keep your name out of her mouth? What I don't know if you're talking about Maloney, and I don't know what she said because I haven't heard anything. So I don't know. Because I think her and I are fine right now. Is there anything in VPR season 9 you would have done differently? Well, yeah, hindsight is always 2020. There's a lot of stuff I would have done differently in those last few seasons. 9, not so much, but 10 and 11, 11 for sure. Season 9, I was very postpartum. The only thing that I wish was done differently was that more of that time in my life was shown instead of just skated over and filled with themed parties. Because I think that was really a missed opportunity on production. What do you think of the current scandal with Tom Sandoval? Have you spoken to him? I have not spoken to him. I will not be speaking to him. That relationship was toxic from the start. And people close to him had told me that. I witnessed it. We all saw what happened at BravoCon. So yeah, I can't say I'm surprised because I did feel like that relationship was doomed from the beginning. Thoughts on James Kennedy publicly commenting and laughing about LVP banning you from her Vegas hotel? Not shocking. Also, don't follow him. Didn't see any comments from him. But I don't want to go to that fucking hotel. Do you know how many better hotels there are in Vegas? Like, I'm good. So I don't care. Why would LVP ban you, yet invite problematic men like Sandoval, James, and Marciano to her opening? If that's the company she keeps, you're better off without her. You know, facts. And I would say, as a recovering pick me, I recognize pick me behavior when I see it. So, yeah, I've always found it interesting that certain men can seem to get like endless chances with her. And, it's like no matter what happens, they're just welcomed back into the fold. They're defended. They're given another opportunity. Meanwhile, the women are held to a completely different standard. And the grace doesn't always seem to flow equally, I will say. I don't know what it is that motivates that, whether it's believing that those guys are just easier to keep close, easier to influence nowadays. I don't know. Maybe she just prefers to surround herself with people who won't challenge her. But look, that is her choice. She gets to decide who she wants in her circle and at her events, and I'm perfectly fine being outside of the circle. So, it's like, I mean, you guys look at the guest list. For me, that just says it all, Sometimes the people you consistently stand behind tell a bigger story than the people you leave out. And look, at this point in my life, I'm just much more interested in surrounding myself with people whose actions match their values. And yeah, that's all I have to say about that. All right, moving on. Are the rumors true about the Valley? Don't allow the vultures to be mean to you. Oh, what are the rumors? I don't know what the rumors are. I'm going to say that they're not true, but considering I don't know exactly what they are, I cannot comment either way. Does your friendship with Janet affect your friendship with Nia? Look, I keep my friendships separate in that sense. When I'm with Nia, I'm not talking about Janet. When I'm with Janet, I'm not talking about Nia. I would say, I've been closer with Janet over the last, so many years. But in the last 2 years, I've actually gotten really close with Nia. So I understand both sides of it. And thankfully, I'm not on the show and I don't have to pick a side and, film about it and be in the middle and try and have reconciliation and resolution and all of that. I just keep those friendships completely separate because now that we understand more of Janet's background, which I literally just learned 2 nights before it aired, she told me, I understand where she's coming from with her feelings. Obviously, back in February, I talked about an almost identical experience that she had that I went through as a kid. And things like that can absolutely affect people later in life. But As far as, my friendship with Nia, we keep it about the kids, mom stuff. I mean, we've been trying to plan a pasta night and whatnot. So I think we all just understand each other and where we are at in our friendships. And Nia has never asked me to step down from my friendship with Janet, and Janet's never asked me to do that with Nia. What is your relationship with Lacey like now? Look, I really like Lacey. I do. I have so much fun with her. We have the same friend group in Orange County. So I'm honestly around her quite a bit. And, 2 years ago when they first started dating, even last year, I was just so much Team Michelle. She can do no wrong. F Lacey, F Jesse. Because, I was being a girl's girl. I was being a good friend. And I was just like, your side is 100% truth, no matter what. But then after just being around Lacey and Jesse more and more, because we are in the same Orange County friend group, I did get more of the story. I did understand more of where Lacey was coming from. And her and I have had really great conversations, and our friendship has definitely grown. So I really enjoy her company. And yeah, that's just she's a good person. She's a good mom, and I just really like her. So that's what our relationship is like. Thoughts on joining for season 4? Are you joining the Valley this year? Are you going to come back to the Valley or still take the time off? Look, I don't know that that's in the cards for me this year again. These are pretty much all my friends, for the most part. So I would never say that door is completely closed. Who knows what the future holds? I just don't know if that is what is right for me still. On last week's episode, Lala preached about how she is 100% accountable always. Has that been your experience? If that had been my experience with her, we would still be friends. So that's a hard no. Why did you have a fallout with Janet a few years ago? I think we might have gotten into this a bit on a previous podcast. I think we kind of skated around that because by the time Janet did my podcast again and it got brought up, we were already past it. But maybe I just have her on again and discuss it, because since that first fallout, there have been other things that I have clocked over the past year. And I see where others have their frustrations with her, because I have as well. But I also know her heart, and I know she's a good person and a good friend. What are your thoughts on seeing the audience come around to Janet more this season on the Valley? Look, I am happy to see people giving her more grace. I know firsthand how painful and frustrating it is to feel like you're being misunderstood, or, that the audience isn't seeing your side of the story, or at least that's how it feels true to you. I also know what it's like to be trying to find your footing, within a friend group when you're filming a reality show. There's nothing normal about this. It's like you film it and then you forget about it, but then you relive it, then you see what everyone says about you behind your back. And, it's hard enough in real life, but when every interaction is also being dissected by millions of people, it's hard. And I can especially empathize with filming postpartum. I kind of mentioned this earlier. I went through that during season 9, and it is such a vulnerable time. You're exhausted, you're emotional, your hormones are all over the place. Your body doesn't feel like your own, and it's just like you don't feel like yourself. So watching Kristen and Nia navigate postpartum this season has just reminded me how challenging that period can be. And I think it's important to remember that everyone experiences it differently. Janet isn't perfect. None of us are. But I never felt like the level of backlash and vitriol that she received matched with what actually happened on the show. Sometimes it feels like the punishment doesn't fit the crime. But one thing I've learned from doing reality TV is that people are rarely all good or all bad. Sometimes it just takes time for the viewers to see a little bit more of the full picture. And I'm glad that it feels like that's starting to happen for Janet, because I've seen the full picture of her, but then I also am watching the same show you guys are watching. So I'm like, well, I get it. But yeah. All right, moving on. Whatever happened to all of your first wedding wall art, and why did you have such big photos of yourself all over your house? Well, I don't like a lot of white space on the walls, like just like empty white walls. I hate just plain walls, any color, honestly. But at that time, my walls were white. So I was like, when we're filming a reality show, you have to have cleared artwork. You can't have Andy Warhol painting, even if it's not the original, obviously, who has those. But we had to have stuff that could be cleared. So I'm like, okay, well, I have all of these beautiful wedding photos, and it's cleared artwork. So I'll just put 5 giant canvases up on my wall. I mean, Lisa Vanderpump has portraits all over her house of herself, and that's like iconic, elegant, camp. But it's like I have it, and I just get made fun of completely. It's like I'm a narcissist. I'm cringe. I'm whatever if I have photos of myself. But this conversation is funny because it's such a good example of how the exact same behavior gets judged completely different whether people like you or not. I'm sure Stassi can have photos of herself all over the house and people are like, oh my God, that's just exquisite. Like, I don't know, but it's like I have them and it's a joke. Like, I feel like, say we're watching Secret Lives of Mormon Wives and Taylor Frankie Paul has like a giant photo of her family, or Jessie has herself all over her salon, people would love it. But it's like, God forbid, like Demi or Whitney season 1 had those, they would get made fun of. So it just depends. Who do people like at the moment and how do they get treated? But I will say that one of the photos is hanging up in Kevin and Lando's apartment. They asked me if they could have one of my wedding photos to hang in the studio. So they have one. My friend Cam has requested another one. I actually recently talked to Shay and I was like, look, I still have the photo of you with the groomsmen, the giant canvas. Like, do you want it by chance? And he actually said, yeah. So that one will be going to him. I think one I sent to a fan. And I don't remember where the other one is. I feel like I sent one into like the Bravo Museum or something. I don't know. But that's why I had them. I was not in a position back in the day to spend, thousands of dollars on original artwork to get it cleared. And I don't like empty walls. So that's why. But I now have giant canvases, not just of myself, but there are some. That's a lie. I have some pregnant ones hanging up in the house. But then I have family ones with Brock and Summer because I do. I love a big, giant family photo that can cover the wall space. And I think we're going to also get another one printed out from our Shein photo shoot that we did last summer because it was just such a beautiful photo shoot. And I just want like a horizontal one hanging up upstairs that is of my family. So whatever. Anyway, moving on. Who owns What I Like? Can't believe you haven't made a cent off Good as Gold. That's a good question. I forgot about What I Like, to be honest. I think my old manager just owns that one, but nothing really ever came of that song, so I never thought about it. Good as Gold, you're telling me. I can't believe it either. Will you ever go on tour? Yes, I will. When? TBD. But I will absolutely go on tour. You were at the International OCD Con in Seattle this past weekend. Can you talk about what it was like to be there and what you've continued learning about your OCD through working with them? You guys, like I was saying earlier, it was such an incredible experience. I left just feeling inspired and hopeful and honestly just really grateful to have been invited to be a part of it, to have received the Illumination Award back in 2024. Just truly an incredible experience. And I think one of the things that means the most to me about working with the IOCDF is they're constantly reminding people that OCD is so much more complex than the stereotypes we see online or in pop culture, like this needs to be organized. This needs to be like this. Like it's so much more than that. It's a real mental health condition that can be exhausting, isolating, debilitating, completely misunderstood. I mean, there are so many levels of it. I even learned more this weekend about different types of OCD. One of the moms who I met told me, she was like, once I had harm OCD, that's when I knew I needed to like get seen and get diagnosed. And I was like, oh, I didn't realize it was called harm OCD. And then there were like safety behavior. There are just so many different terms that I was like, oh, okay, now I'm learning even more. But just being surrounded by clinicians, researchers, therapists, advocates, families, just people living with OCD, it was incredibly validating. And there was just this sense of, everyone just got it. I'm like, these are my people. You didn't have to explain yourself or feel embarrassed about your experiences. I was just like so open telling people about the darkest thoughts that I've ever had. And they're like, oh my God, me too. And you don't feel crazy. You're like, oh my God, so you thought about that with your kid too? And it's like when you have OCD, it attaches to the people that you love the most, and you see things in your head where you're like, no, I'm not going to throw my child off a balcony. But I do worry that if I'm ever standing on a balcony, that for some reason she's just going to completely jump out of my arms and fall down. And I'm like, I would never harm my child. But then I realize, I'm like, oh, so is that what harm OCD is? Because I'd never had a name for it before then. But postpartum OCD, I mean, it is wild when you're seeing these things in your head that you would absolutely never in a million years do, but you see yourself doing it, and it's terrifying. And I've also learned that OCD can evolve throughout your life. It doesn't always look the same. It can attach itself to different fears or themes over time, and it's just something I really related to. I think another big takeaway for me has been that healing isn't always about eliminating every intrusive thought, because there's just no magic pill for that. It's not going to happen. It's just really changing your relationship with those thoughts and not giving them so much power. My mom was talking to a woman who told her, she was like, okay, I want you to do this for 30 days where you're going to sit for just 1 minute a day for the first month in silence. And when you get a thought, you're just going to like put it on a cloud or put it on a leaf and let it go. Just let it go. And then on month 2, you're going to do that for 2 minutes, et cetera, et cetera. And so that's one thing that I try to do as well. Being on such a high dose of Zoloft, I will say, does help, because when I get those intrusive thoughts now, I'm just like, but what are the chances of that actually happening? And like, no, no, no. And I just put it on a cloud or a leaf and I let it blow off into the wind and fly away. And it's a tool that I think helps a lot, because when you get those thoughts, they can really be debilitating. But if you just are able to let it go, make it fly away, that really helps. And the more I learn, really, the more compassion I have for myself. I mean, there were so many things I used to beat myself up over that I now understand were symptoms, not character flaws. And if sharing my experience helps even one person feel less alone or encourages them to seek help, then it's absolutely worth it. And I know that it has, because I had people come up to me this weekend and thank me and say that they didn't know that they had OCD until I spoke about it. I had clinicians and therapists over the past year, not just at the conference, but in life, just come up to me and say that they had a patient, a client who came to them and asked if they knew who Scheana Shay was, because watching her on TV, they related to her experience. And it just was incredible to know that me opening up about that had that reach and was able to help people. And that's exactly why I talk about this. It's something that can be a taboo. People don't want to talk about it. People think you're crazy if you're having these thoughts. But I know that me opening up about this has helped so many people. And one of the women I met this weekend had told me when she was watching the show or listening to my podcast and was like, "Oh my God, honey, like you have OCD." And it was before I was even diagnosed and before I knew it, but people watching the show could tell. So I am glad that eventually Vanderpump Rules came around to telling a part of that story because it just is, it's so important. And I mean, I still have work to do. I'm always learning, but this conference was such a powerful reminder that none of us have to navigate OCD alone. And if you guys need resources, iocdf.org, they have everything you need there. And it's a really great community to be a part of if you are struggling with OCD in any way. What would you say is the most effective therapy for OCD for you? Not only being medicated, that's definitely helped, but ERP, which is exposure response prevention, that has been the most helpful to me. Exposure therapy, putting myself in uncomfortable situations. I actually I had to do this during a yoga class I took. There were different cards. She asked me, she goes, "Would you be open to doing some exposure therapy during yoga?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course." And she goes, "Okay, there's contamination, perfection, or whatever the third category was, but those two didn't relate to me. The perfectionism, I was like, that one." So I take a card and it says I have to do a different yoga pose than what everyone else is doing. And if anyone has ever taken a yoga class with me, they know like I do like to be perfect. I will challenge myself and do the extra holds that I maybe don't know what I'm doing, but I challenge myself and I like to be as perfect as possible. But I took this as a fun opportunity to have permission to be imperfect, to maybe stay in the past pose a little longer, just to get that stretch in if I wanted to, and to just kind of do my own thing. And it was a freeing feeling. It was fun. I was like, okay, this was great. But then the woman who was leading it goes, and I just want to give a shout out to her, Katie. She was absolutely amazing. We hung out all weekend, and also shout out to Felicia. These women were just incredible. And like, I know they're going to be my friends forever. But during the class or after the class, when we were talking about our exposures, she goes, "Okay, but the real exposure is going to be when you're just doing a real yoga class and you start doing something different." And I said, "Okay, well, I'll let you know." So the next time I take a yoga class, you might see me doing something completely different than everyone else. But exposure therapy helps so much because you're exposing yourself to the things that you're afraid of and realizing that it's not so scary on the other end. So that has been life-changing. It's called ERP. Favorite thing you did in Seattle? Well, I did, not gonna lie, I did love working my shift. That was so fun, just helping out and meeting new people and whatnot. But going up to the top of the Space Needle was really cool. I am a huge Grey's Anatomy fan. And although I know as someone in the industry, they don't actually shoot it all in Seattle, just seeing all of the aerial shots when they show it and, the boats and the Space Needle and everything, it just felt really cool to finally go to Seattle and to be a part of that. So that was fun. We also did a 3-mile walk just around the entire city. I mean, not the entire city, but that was really fun just getting to see like the public market. And there's this crazy gum wall that said OCD on it and disgusting, but it was like a cool work of art. So yeah. Okay, I realize I've been quite long-winded today that I'm not going to be able to get through all of these questions. So we're going to have to do another pod soon, but I'm going to answer a few more. Do you see yourself ever going back to reality TV, whether that's on the Valley or other projects? Yes, absolutely. I love the platform that reality TV provides. When it's being used to tell authentic stories, I absolutely love that. When it's being used to talk about real life lived experiences, postpartum, maternal mental health, all of those things, it's like the reach that reality TV has and the reach that I know I've had with people, especially like in the OCD community and whatnot, that just, there's nothing else like it. So, this past weekend at the conference just really reinforced that for me. And yeah, I think no matter what show, eventually, yes, I will be back on reality TV because just having people come up to me, telling me that me sharing my story helped them recognize that they had those symptoms and get diagnosed and get the help they need. It is, it's incredible. Like, there is nothing else like it. It just needs to be the right show or the right time with the right people for me to get back into it after having this time off. It's been a really great mental health reset. And I think sometimes people forget that reality TV, it isn't just about the drama. At its best, it is about connection. And it's about people seeing pieces of themselves in someone else's story, relating to it, like actually reality. And that's one thing that in hindsight now, I realize and regret so much about season 11 because Ariana was living her reality and her truth, and that was to never be around this man again. And meanwhile, we have foreseen scenes and trips with me and Lala and Sandoval and conversations, and we got to get to resolution and keep the show going. And she was like, fuck that. This is my reality, and my reality is I'm not filming with him. I'm not talking to him. And I have so much respect for that. And I wish I did at the time because she was being the most real version of herself. And I was just obviously going through so much in my own marriage at the time. Not that it's an excuse. I chose to keep that quiet, but I just couldn't see the bigger picture. I just saw like, why am I having to film with this person and you're not having to? And it just like Lala in my ear and production in my other ear, and major regrets around that because she was being real and her reality was walking away at the end of the night, and I didn't see it that way at the time. But I mean, look at her. She's nominated for a fucking Emmy. Are you guys kidding me? I mean, it's incredible. I know some questions came in around that, and I could not be happier for her. I texted her and I just said, I am beyond proud. Like, this is so well-deserved and earned, and the talent has always been there. Anyone who's known Ariana for years knows how smart and funny and incredibly hardworking she is, how she is. Like, she is so talented. She sings, she dances, she acts, she hosts. I mean, she does it all. Like, I could see her truly being an EGOT one day. And it's like, as awful and painful as everything was surrounding Scandival, I'm just genuinely grateful that she got out of that relationship and she is getting all of the flowers that she deserves. She's getting my flowers on the podcast today. She is getting them all because she absolutely deserves it. And I think sometimes we don't even realize how much a relationship is weighing us down until we're no longer in it. Toxic relationships, can slowly chip away at your confidence, your joy, your ambition, and even your sense of who you are. And the thing about toxic relationships, it's not just like your romantic relationship with your partner. It can be a toxic friendship. It could be a toxic relationship with your boss. I mean, I can absolutely relate on so many levels with this. And just watching Ariana step into this next chapter has been very inspiring because it just feels like she finally has the space, and she has for the last couple years, but just to fully fucking shine. And I could not be happier for her. I mean, an Emmy nomination is an incredible accomplishment. It's not, oh, Vanderpump Rules is nominated for this, da-da-da. No, Ariana Madix is nominated for an Emmy for herself and her hosting skills. And I just hope she's taking this moment to really soak it all in because she absolutely deserves it. And flowers of the week are going to Ariana for getting that Emmy nom because that is fucking incredible, and I'm so happy for her. When is this? Oh my God. And there's a video? Whoa. Dude, I knew she was a fucking snake years ago. You can't tell me this shit wasn't going on back then. Oh my God. Disgusting. I guess by the time this podcast is out, you'll all have seen this article on TMZ as well. Jax and Lori. Wow. To say I'm disgusted would be an understatement, but honestly, I can't even say I'm surprised. Those two fucking deserve each other. Jax hole of the week, Jax Taylor, and the fucking oh my God, I'm flustered now. What is it? Inspiration behind the Jax hole is Jax Taylor himself. Wow, yeah, I don't even know. That is such a fucking betrayal. It is so disgusting. I mean, Brittany was so close with this woman for so long. I honestly, I don't even want to speak on that much more because that is, that's for Brittany. I'm going to wrap this podcast up. I'm going to go check on my friend and, check on my kitty who's about to get surgery. Fuck. Okay. Well, thank you guys so much for listening and, sending in all of your questions. And, yeah, I'll be back next week and maybe we'll get more into this. I think Schwartz is going to be on the pod next week, so I don't see how we could maybe I don't know. I don't want to talk about my friend's business in a personal sense like this. This has nothing to do with the show. So, just need to make sure she's supported. But thank you guys for listening and yeah, we'll be back with Schwartz next week.